What's going on, fam? And welcome back to the channel. Dragon Canoe checking in again. Just wave surfing on them. You know how we do it. Staying in check, searching for the Melchizedek. We're steadily rowing and we're constantly flowing. We're talking lost tribes and promised lands, the seed of Abraham. And today, we're about to get into it. Again, like I said, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I've been throwing a lot at you lately. I understand. But here we are again. I'm gonna mess your head up with this one too. We're just connecting the dots, doing what we do best. Let me know what y'all think. Leave a note in the comments. Dragon Canoe checking in again. Let's get it.
Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will lift up mine hand to the Gentiles, and set up my standard to the people, and they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face toward the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. For they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? But thus saith the Lord, even the captives of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered. For I will contend with him that contendeth with thee, and I will save thy children. And I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh, and they shall be drunken with their own blood, as with sweet wine. And all flesh shall know that I, the Lord, am thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob.
Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Matrix.
Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, a prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Thus saith the Most High, thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am your power, that maketh all things, that stretched forth the heavens alone, that spread abroad the earth by myself, that frustrateth the tokens of the impostors, and maketh diviners mad, that turneth wise men backward, and maketh their knowledge foolish.
Since I feel responsible for this lightning of last night, clearly visible how sun go in front as back clouds. This is like Back to the Future, cause
He goes back once again to the eastern gates and under the earth. And when he goes out from the western gates, he takes off his light, the splendor which is his radiance, and 400 angels take his crown and carry it to the Most High. For since his shining crown is with the Most High, with 400 angels guarding it, the sun turns his chariot around and goes back under the earth on wheels, without the great light which is his great radiance and ornament. And he remains for 7 great hours a night, and the chariot spends half its time under the earth. And when he comes to the eastern approaches in the 8th hour of the night, the angels, the 400 angels, bring back the crown and crown him. And his brightness and the shining of his crown are seen before sunrise, and the sun blazes out more than fire does.
Boogeyman or Andrew found me approximately a year ago on the edge of everything, and in that time we both search, is it this real sun or fake? Not this. I don't know how many suns were in 1 year.
If you're not understanding, if there's clouds in front and behind the sun, that means it's not in space. Let me run that back. If there's clouds in front and behind the sun, that means one, either that's not the real sun, or that mug is not in space.
By request, today I document the old world bells. At one time, they could be found in every city and town. Millions of them were made. Look at how many were collected. Those are bells, that's not AI. It appears they were indeed mass produced and on an extremely large scale, were they not? Given the sheer numbers of them, I would guess they weren't for summoning the masses to worship. It looks like everyone had a couple of them at their house. Why's that? The old pictures show us scene after scene in which the bells were all gathered up in order to melt them down and beat them into swords, not plowshares. Taking something that perhaps heals the body and turning it into a weapon to kill people with. Imagine that. It's straight up hardcore evil right there. I did a little investigation, and what I found is that the bells were not just haphazardly made. They were perfect in form and size, and the oldest being the finest quality. Go figure that. The bell makers would pour molten bronze, which was 77% copper, 23% tin, into a mold, and the bell's thickness, its diameter, the curvature, all together controlled the sound that it produced. After casting it, it would be hung upside down on a lathe, and the craftsmen, called bell founders, would shave tiny layers off the inside until they got the desired tone they wanted. But I have to ask this when I was reading this, okay, what lathe did that monster of a bell fit on anyway? The same one that made the giant siege cannons, right? That's what I figured. Each bell produces 5 main tones, not just one. I had no idea. I mean, they didn't just make a bell, it was a tuned instrument because, so there's 5 notes, right? The hum note, that's the deep bass resonance that you hear. The prime note, or the main pitch that you hear. Then you have 3 others. The tierce, that's a minor third above the prime. This is all French to me, I have no idea. The quint, a perfect fifth above it. And the nominal, an octave above the prime. Whatever that means. But those tones, all 5 had to be properly balanced so the bell sang in harmony with itself. And the bell founders would have had to grind or shave the bronze by ear until those overtones all lined up. I mean, they did that by ear. I thought that was just the weirdest thing. The oldest bells were the ones that were made almost perfectly. And it's kind of hard to do, isn't it not? I mean, no power tools, no lasers, no computers. How do we know they were perfectly made? Easy. They can tell by how much was shaved off of it in the certain places that you tone it out at.
We're talking the Royal Palace of Madrid and its original purpose. The original structure was a small fort used as a military outpost in a defense against Christian incursions. After the Christian king Alfonso VI captured Madrid in the 11th century. So King Alfonso, you already know that's a naga with a name like that. The fortress was occasionally used by Castilian kings. So we're talking House of Aragon, House of Castile. In this case, the Royal Palace of Madrid was used by Castilian kings. In the late Middle Ages, the Trastamara monarchs established it as their habitual residence, and none other than Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, who significantly expanded and renovated the castle in the 16th century. So again, we're just connecting the dots here. What can you say? This massive gate of Santa Maria, adorned by figures of the Virgin Heroes and Emperor Charles V, greets visitors to Burgos' heart of Old Castile. Founded in the 9th century as a bastion against the Moors, it flourished as a pilgrim center and capital of kings of Castile and Leon. We've talked about this here. Everywhere you look, you see Charles V. Who is the real straw man here? You let me know.
And of course, with the policy of encomienda, or in simple summarized terms, forced labor that was imposed on the natives that they encountered, many died to erect these structures. And yet, somehow, in some way, these conquistadors and their descendants, who were told wore iron armor in very difficult conditions, they managed to pull off these architectural achievements. And yet, in this convent, this basilica, there is a much darker story. As much as we have with many of the isolated locations in Europe, we have an account of catacombs here. How is it holding up so well after all these years? The interior of this basilica and this convent is no less impressive. Very advanced construction techniques with fine geometric precision in many different arches. The same signs that we've seen in structures across the land. So while we have the account that the quote-unquote New World was discovered later, and had a different form of civilization imposed on it according to the official history, we still see tremendous architectural achievements. And perhaps what we're really looking at with the Mayans, the Incans, and the Aztecs and their architectural achievements are indeed something from a previous era even that somehow managed to survive. Or maybe what we were seeing was the very height of the previous civilization. The same peoples, but who do we actually give credit for who accomplished these structures? What we do know is that they're still standing, and they definitely point to a grandeur that we don't expect the people of this time to be capable of. If the Spaniards and the Portuguese were limited to simple horsepower and simply trying to survive after conquering these mighty empires, then why didn't they simply repurpose the existing structures? Why would they bother building these newer structures, according to the same diagrams and plans that they had over in Europe? No, there's something much more to this story. And what seems to be a more plausible explanation is that we have, once again, the concept of civilizations building on top of other civilizations. But the timeline doesn't make sense that we're actually given. What would make more sense is if the history occurred as we're told for the Spanish and the Portuguese to simply repurpose the pyramids that they found, to simply repurpose the structures. We even have famous individuals that are allegedly buried at this convent, this basilica in San Francisco and Lima. But who exactly were they? Did these people really exist, or are these just merely idealized paintings to give us the idea that there were famous individuals and to give us something to focus our efforts and research on so we don't step back and look at the true account?
Saint James, aka Matamoros or Moor Slayer, take that into account, who led Christian armies against the Moors. His cult, we're talking the cult of Saint James, was taken to the Americas by the conquistadors. A powerful intercessor considered as a great magician in the Middle Ages, Saint James was the patron saint of pilgrims. The Order of Santiago, or the Cult of St. James, is a Christian military religious order of knights founded about 1160, they say, protecting pilgrims on their way to the shrine of St. James in Santiago de Compostela. We're just connecting the dots here. We're talking crusades, the Cult of St. James, and these death shrines. We're just connecting the dots here.
Catacombs of Lima, where they tell us that in 1546 they began construction of the Basilica and Convent of San Francisco in Lima, located in Peru, not California. And this included the catacombs where there are another 25,000 bodies lying in it that we are told about. Again, buried in these weird artistic designs, the catacombs or crypts of Lima are considered the largest in the entire continent. And we are told that these enormous wells, 10 meters deep, filled with bones and skulls, the well's original purpose was to preserve the old buildings from earthquakes. And they also tell us, for a third time today, that there is most likely more to these catacombs that we are not able to see. When they say, it is believed that there is a network of paths and secret passages that connect different buildings. Now remember, before 1943, the public was unaware of these catacombs in Lima. So for me to suggest that there are many other catacombs all around the world is a pretty basic suggestion. And remember, the experts of the 1940s figured out exactly who these people were and gave us the full truth about the dates. No. Let's read that first paragraph. The neatly organized bones for geometric patterns in sizable open ossuary just below the floor of the church, monastery, and library. And before 1943, nobody knew that was there. Now, let's ask a question. How many churches around the world have the exact same thing going on underneath the floor that we aren't being told about? Is this the reason that when you walk into these places, you feel a massive presence sold as an attraction where you get tickets to go and see these bones? And we all know how construction works. There are steps that you have to take in order to build a building. You build the foundation first. This means that the catacombs were constructed before these churches. And then the church is strategically placed on top. Why would a church build on top of these geometrically placed bones of, in my opinion, the previous civilization? And then they profit off of it, selling tickets all over the world, showing it off as an attraction to us. In my opinion, the new population. And who is buying these tickets? And then we have the Brno ossuary, an underground ossuary that were rediscovered in 2001. So this has just been hanging out below the ground for all this time, and we just rediscovered it. I keep saying it. But now knowing this, can you even imagine what is really below our feet?
Here is an idol of St. James. Santiago received a traditional embrace from behind as a pilgrim climaxes a journey of faith. Precious stones stud the image, an altar of alabaster, jasper, silver, and is encased, since 1672, they say. Below lies the fair vaulted sepulchre, where said the codex, the air is kept sweet with divine odors, they say. If this ain't idolatry, I don't know what is. Leave a note in the comments, man.
And who did this? Who set all these bones up like this? And yet again, it is under the Church of St. James, where it holds an estimated 50,000 people, making it the second largest ossuary in Europe that we know about. And remember, all of these bones are laid in a pattern, like we've been told, and they are done like this all over the world, not just in Europe, meaning that the same group did this all over the world. And they tell us it's because the graves were too populated. Yet they go on to dismantle the bones and put them into geometric patterns, which makes no sense at all. Why would you randomly do that? It doesn't add up. You would preserve them properly and lay them the way they were found. This feels much deeper than simply transporting due to overpopulation of an area.